this is for the one who ain't never had a love, yeah. This one's for the girl who don't feel like she's enough, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. This one's for the cool kid playing on the school team, crying to himself cause he never had the prom queen. Head full of wants, but they said it's just a pipe dream, yeah. This one's for the kids like me, they never had one day. The ladies always turn their cheek, but they ain't let the fat ones sing. This was for the kids like me, kept working when they had nothing. When people try to take their dreams, they stuck it to them, please don't change.
Hello, hello, hello. Another day and another place that Trump wants to take. How's it going, everybody? Apparently, I didn't have the mute on, so you probably heard me cough in the beginning of that intro. I'm sorry if I coughed and if I was loud. My apologies. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Another Hangout stream. I am Alex. It's the 4th of January, 2026, and we are here. We're going to have a little bit of fun. We're going to talk a whole bunch of stuff. We don't have a press briefing to watch like we did yesterday. So we are going to just have a good time, talk a little bit about some current events going on. Obviously, Donald Trump being a madman. We are going to talk about that. We are going to talk some Myles Garrett, Iran, a whole bunch of stuff. I have like 7 million tabs put up right now. So anyway, everybody, how are we out there? Wherever you are watching from, whether it is YouTube X, Facebook, Kick, or Rumble, thank you very much. We appreciate it as always. Wherever you're watching from, please make sure. Why is this chair so low? Hold on. There we go. Better. Wherever you're watching from, please make sure to like the show. Click that thumbs up button because that's helpful. And make sure you're following because that's also helpful. It is going to be a goal of mine to get monetized somehow on this stream because I'm going to put in the work. I'm going to put in the time. I'm going to be here more often than not. Like I said, the only other time is going to more than likely be Mondays when I'm doing my other track and field show, or if there is a change in schedule there, but I will be around a lot. That's the goal. Be around a lot. So please spread the word and make sure that you are, if you're enjoying what you hear, if you enjoy what you see, make sure that you try and boost us up. So that's the goal. Get enough subscribers, get enough watch time, and get this page monetized, the YouTube channel monetized, and things like that. So that is the goal. And go follow us everywhere at the socials at the Alex Cuesta Show. So this Wednesday, real quick, I just want to talk. So I won't be here more than likely tomorrow because I'm going to be doing Talking in Ovals. And then, which I promote everyone go to Talking in Ovals on the YouTube channel and just go search it. And if you're interested in track and field stories and stuff, go give that a subscribe as well, because it's me. It's my former coach, Dave, not Dave, brother Dave, a former coach, Dave. We hang out with people. We get their stories about why they got started running and things like that. And then we just kind of yik-yak with them about anything that's important to them in the sport. So if that's your cup of tea, go join me on Mondays at 9 o'clock. They're live on Talking in Ovals. But for our purposes, Wednesday, David informed me he's going to be around this Wednesday. Woo! So we don't know what we're going to do Wednesday. We don't know if we're going to do another David torturing me series where maybe he picks a video he hasn't seen either. Like we just don't vet the video at all and we both live react. That could be fun. But David's going to figure something out. He said he'll figure something out. I trust him because without Dave, the show might be a lot less interesting. Just real fun fact, even though I give Dave shit all the time, he puts a lot behind the scenes in terms of stories and stuff like that and getting those things together and helping me out with any of like the thumbnails and titles and all that stuff. So while I give Dave a lot of shit, he does a good amount behind the scenes. So I just want to give him his props. While I am here to do so, he's going to hear it and he's going to be like, leave me alone. But had to do it. Have to do it. But let's get right into the fun stuff because obviously last night we were here at the nice long stream, 3 hours. And David also informed me that I sucked at the end of that stream, and I was just going the whole time. So I'm gonna try and be better for you guys. I got tired. I made the mistake of keeping my contacts in, and that doesn't help. It makes my eyes super duper heavy. So you've been noticing I've been rocking the glasses much more often. I'll wear the contacts sometimes, but I need to know if I'm doing one of those longer streams. No contacts. That's not a smart idea. Just do the glasses. Even though these glasses, do they look crooked? They might be a little bit. But anyway, so let's get right into it. I hope everyone has had a good day. My kids go back to school tomorrow. I'm getting ready. I got to get back with my routine of getting them to school and doing all that type of stuff. That is a fun, hectic morning. They're pretty good on their own, but it's craziness getting everything together. I play mom during the week. My wife goes to work before I do, and it's my responsibility to get the kids all ready and going and stuff like that. So I'm getting back in that routine tomorrow because they're back from their break, which flew by. 2 weeks of break. It was hectic. It feels like Christmas was so long ago. I don't even feel like Christmas just happened, but we're here. Time don't stop. Things keep rolling. And that is also what we're going to do. We're going to roll because, like I said in the beginning, it is another day and it is another time for Donald Trump to just fucking say things, right? Donald Trump says things, and he started off during the campaign about taking Greenland. And we had envoys. I'm pretty sure Donald Trump Jr. went over there. And I think everyone just thought that Donald Trump was just blowing smoke and just saying whatever he wants. But it ends up that he might be serious. So let's jump right the fuck here, which is wild. Because Raw Alerts has this from earlier today, and he announced this earlier today. It says, breaking, President Trump has announced saying we need Greenland. I don't like that. Has announced saying that we need. I don't like that. President Trump has announced saying that we need Greenland for national security. We have to have it. This is a quick clip. It's 18 seconds. Let's see what the Donald has to say. And I don't think he gives away much. I didn't watch this press conference, but let's see what he thinks about Greenland here.
We need Greenland for national security, not for minerals. We have so many sites for minerals and oil and everything. We have more oil than any other country in the world. We need Greenland for national security. And if you take a look at Greenland, you look up and down the coast, you have Russian and Chinese ships all over the place. We need.
So that is him making a plea in terms of national security that Greenland would be important for that sense. Now, I don't know much about Greenland, to be quite honest. I don't know geographically where the fuck they are. I know they were talking about it, and I know I listened to Pack Ray Unleashed, and Jeffy over there is always just like, oh, we just put a flag down and we have Greenland. No one's going to do anything. And that's true. It is very true that no one is going to do a goddamn thing if we just go in there and put a flag on Greenland and say, this is ours. But the implications here are pretty wild because we are just seeing colonization is starting again. And Trump is just fucking doing things. Like, he's just like, I want it. I'm going to go get it. And I hinted at the end of the show last night why I think Trump is doing what he is doing. So let me go a little bit back and let me weave this web for everyone for why I believe that not only did Trump do the action in Venezuela last night and arrest Maduro, but also why he is talking tough about Greenland and he's doing all this stuff. This is going to sound a little crass, a little harsh, a little bizarre. But what I'm going to say will eventually make sense as I weave my web and kind of go through my thought process of geopolitically why Trump is doing what he's doing. So obviously, the Russia-Ukraine war is still going on. I think, 4 years now that it's going on. It got started during the Biden administration. Russia invaded Ukraine. They want the Donbass region. They obviously want Crimea. And they have just kept going. I thought Russia was going to roll over Ukraine. I think a lot of people thought that. I think the Russians thought that. But it has obviously been much more difficult than the Russians have accounted for and thought about. It definitely helped Ukrainians that between the United States and the EU, they've gotten billions and billions of dollars, and not just in money, but also in weaponry. It's been billions upon billions to keep them fighting, to keep them funded. I mean, during the Biden administration, we were funding the Ukrainian government. So there is a lot going on with that. And it's been a bloody, terrible war. We saw in the press conference yesterday that Trump was saying something like 20 to 30,000 people die a month right now in this war. And that is just a crazy number, right? 20 to 30,000 people. That is an absolute crazy number. That it's unfathomable. And I understand why Trump keeps being critical of both sides and is like, we just need to end it. But there is something that came out of this war that I think was noticed by not only Donald Trump, the administration, but the rest of the world. And what that is the weakness of the Russian military. I don't think any of us thought that even with money and munitions provided by Europeans and Americans, that Russia wouldn't just eventually overwhelm Ukraine. That maybe it was going to take a little bit longer because they had better technology, they had some more training, they had the money to keep going, but eventually Russian military might was going to take over. I think we all assumed that. We have seen anything but that. Now, Russia has a firm position inside of Ukraine. I don't think the line really has moved much. I'm pretty sure they have most of the Donbass. They have a lot of the region that they want. And right now, it's just essentially Ukrainians need to be willing to give up that land. And right now, Zelensky is not. I think the Ukrainian people are. I think they want to end this war. I think all the refugees that left, because I think people forget that at the beginning of the war, and when they realized that this war was going to go for a long time, women and children fled the country of Ukraine. They went over to other European countries. A bunch of them came over to the United States, and they fled because they did not want to be killed by the Russians. And I think that the Ukrainians expected a long, drawn out war. So basically, the men stayed to the point where men trying to leave were being captured at the border and turned around and just enlisted. So this has been much longer than people thought. And one of the things that I think nobody accounted for was, again, just how weak the Russian military is. I don't think Vladimir Putin accounted for that either. And what that did is that became a giant beacon and a signal to the rest of the world. Because one thing that has always been a deterrent for America doing a lot of things is, well, we don't want to get into a war with Russia. There's two countries that consistently, we don't want to get into a war with Russia. We don't want to get into a war with China. Those are the two countries that throughout my lifetime, we've always heard, well, we don't want to go here because we don't want to get into a war with any of them. And it's one of the main reasons why they had the plan for the war on terror the way it was, to go from Iraq, Afghanistan, and kind of surround Iran to kind of force them to capitulate or just go around, encircle them and entrap them and kind of cut them off from Russia and China. But in what has gone on, Russia not being able to put Ukraine away for years and years on end and still in a stalemate, I think has emboldened Trump in so many ways. Because like I said, one of the major deterrents was always, okay, we can't go into Iran because Russia and them are really close with oil. And if we get involved with Iran, then Russia's going to get involved and blah, blah, blah. And it will become a big to-do. We didn't want that. Now Russia's preoccupied with Ukraine. We see the Russian military is not all that. And so that signals not only to Trump, but the rest of the world that when Russians say that they have a country's back, is it that important anymore? Does that even mean anything right now? I'm going to say not much geopolitically. what stance do they have? I'm not knocking the Ukrainians. I think they are fighting fiercely. I think the individuals that are being forced to still fight are brave as shit. But there is no reason why Russia hasn't just walked right through them so far and hasn't, won this war. So that being said, I think that has truly dictated a lot of Trump's actions, especially when they went and they did the bunker busters in Iran not too long ago, because that was unthinkable and unheard of. Because again, Russia was going to come in. And now that we are pretty sure Russia's in no condition or capability of stopping anyone, Trump is now just kind of doing what he wants. And China, while is still a deterrent and someone we really probably still don't want to tangle with, it was always the promise of one or the other, and then eventually the other one may come in, right? To help the other just because they might see a weakened United States. Right now, it would essentially be China on its own. And as much as we don't want to tussle with China, I sure as fuck know China does not want to tussle with us, because we will beat China. There's no question. We would beat China in a war, and it's not even a question. It would be an elongated war. It would be a tough war, but it would also be another war where we are in China fighting China, or on another land fighting against the Chinese. But they would not land kinetic rounds in America. That's one of the things that we benefit from, is we maybe have gotten attacked at World Trade Center and some minor things, but there are no boots on American soil. That don't happen. Not in my lifetime, at least. So with that being said, this also weakens the whole BRICS alignment, because the whole purpose of BRICS was, yes, to create a different monetary option, right? It was trying to add a competitor to the dollar, to the euro, and make it so that these set of countries would bring their economies together, create their own currency, and they would be the ones to back it. And they would do deals with their currency and not care about the dollar standard and stuff like that. Again, Russia's weakness has all but destroyed that BRICS alliance, because it truly hedged on China and Russia being the backbone. India joining in was big because they are a BRICS country, but those two being the backbone of all the other countries that joined, and giving them confidence that when you join in this BRICS League of Nations or whatever they are, we will be able to back you monetarily. And it was going to become, in my eyes, an alliance, a massive alliance against the West. So this has had much bigger implications than just Russia not being able to defeat Ukraine. This has signaled to the West, and specifically the United States, that they don't have to walk on eggshells as much when they do things internationally, because one of the major players is essentially off the table. Not only because they'd be entering into a two-front war, which nobody wants to have multiple theaters of war going on if they do come to defend an ally plus fighting in Ukraine, but at the same time, they're not capable. And even if the war in Ukraine were to end, the deterrent in Russia is only their nukes. That's it. That's the only thing that they have, is their nukes. And there has been word for years now that we don't know if Russia can even afford to actually fire them off, because it costs money to do these things. We don't know if Russia has the capability to fire these off. Now, having the BRICS alignment, having China, having all these other countries, would have allowed Russia to pump in money to their economy to then bolster up more of their military. This, to me, was a huge misstep by Vladimir Putin. Huge. Because, again, he exposed the underbelly of his country and showing that they cannot be a reliable, big partner in this BRICS partnership. And it's our benefit, right? It is our benefit. Because what has this done? This has now, anytime before, when Putin would go and give alliances and things, it was a big deal. It's still a big deal, right? But it was a big deal because now that's a threat. Russia's in league with this country, that country, this country. Now we have to watch where we go, what we do in certain areas, which are friendly to us and friendly to Russia. But that was all big to do. Now doesn't fucking matter. Because what is that country going to say? Oh, Russia has our backing and we're going to go, okay, who cares? Who cares if Russia is backing you? They're not going to stop fighting in Ukraine to come help you. Fuck you. And what this does for China is China's been hell-bent on taking Taiwan. They took Hong Kong in the middle of COVID when nobody was paying attention. They just swept in and took Hong Kong. And they just basically said, you're ours now. And nobody did anything because COVID was around. We weren't, we were barely trying to live at that point. But they've definitely set their sights since Hong Kong on Taiwan next. And I firmly believe that once again, Russian weakness has hurt China's plans. Because now, if China were to go and attempt to take Taiwan, number one, the new Japanese leader is incredible. And the boldness of that Japanese leader of saying, hey, you move in on Taiwan, it's war. We are declaring war on you, period. That's massive. That's massive because Japan is another superpower in that area. Not as strong as China, but don't knock Japan. I know they have their issues economically and stuff, but the Japanese people are fierce. And that is a major red line that we haven't seen before this new president with Japan. And that's boldness that we haven't seen. And I once again firmly believe, again, back to the trickle down. It's because everybody believed that if China were to do an action, they would have the backing of at least Russia and some other countries that would help them. Russian weakness has made China a little more nervous because they now know if they go to war and say they were to go and try and take Taiwan and Japan were to announce war and were actually to start fighting them, they couldn't just go, hey, Russians, help us out. It wouldn't happen. And on top of that, if Japan were to go to war with China over Taiwan, there's also a chance that America gets involved. And they know that. And before, if America were to get involved and China were to call on Russia, it would have been Russia and China versus America and some of the Western allies, and it would have just been a world war. We would have seen a world war over Taiwan. Now, if we didn't see a world war over the Iranian bunker buster bombs, which everyone said this could trigger World War III, this could cause the interest of BRICS nations, your China, your India, your Russia, to come into Iran's aid. Because remember, when we attacked the bunker busters, that wasn't like some of our other actions where we are saying, hey, we're actually going after terrorists in your country. It's within our purview. That was kind of always, every time we've ever entered anywhere near Iranian airspace or their border or even traversed a little in to go and maybe extract or kill someone, it has always been in the guise of, we're going after terrorists. We're not entering into your country. We're not doing it just because. This was middle of the night, bombing their nuclear sites so they can't continue to refine uranium. This was a direct attack on the Iranian government. And what did Iran do? Nothing. They ended the war with Israel. Because Iran had jumped in to the war with Israel. You know, the Palestinian, the Hamas and Israel war was going on, and Iran had jumped in. And America gave them that deadline of get the fuck out. They didn't listen. And America went in and bombed them. Which again was unheard of for the longest time. You did not go into Iran. That was kind of one of the no-no zones. And I think what that did when we did that action and there were absolutely zero repercussions kinetically, zero repercussions geopolitically, because it's not even like China stopped tariff talks with us. Xi Jinping was still talking to Trump even after that, and unhappily saying, hey, you shouldn't have done that. But at the same time, not condemning it to the fact where, or the point where they were cutting us off, or to the point where they were threatening war over a BRICS ally. And what did that do? Yes, it sent a message to the world that Donald Trump doesn't fuck around. But it also sent a message to Trump and his cabinet that we can keep pushing. We don't have to stop. And then they set their sights on Maduro because they knew that Venezuela is another major hotbed for Russia, Iran, China to use for not only resources, but for training grounds and things like that. So strategically, this is Trump going after countries and places that will directly hurt China and Russia. Venezuela more. And it was, I truly feel, because there was no repercussions for the Iranian action, that Trump and the administration were confident that they could go in, take Maduro or kill him or capture him, go into the country, do what they needed to do the other night, and that there would be nothing but angry words. And so far, it's what we've seen. We've seen a whole lot of reaction, and we've seen some anger, but it hasn't been anything that would rise to anything that could possibly deter Trump from doing it again in another place. And now that brings us back to the beginning. When it comes to Greenland, him announcing this and saying again and putting the names of Russia and China in his mouth is a message. Whether we go and we take Greenland or not, which he's a madman when he says these types of things, essentially he does it. There's a chance that Greenland could become a territory. I don't think he's going to make them a state. I think they are going to become like the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico, if anything. But it's essentially to plant our flag in another place and to say, Russia and China, you're not welcome here. This is our area. This is where we cover. We consider you being here as a potential aggressive act. Back the fuck off. I understand the bubble that Trump is trying to create. I get it geopolitically. It makes total sense. And while before, you bring me back even 10 years ago, in the beginning of Trump's first term, I would say, don't do this. This is risky. You're going to cause a lot of problems and problems that we don't want and we maybe can't handle. And you got to remember, what Trump inherited in 2016 was a nation that was told for 8 years by Barack Obama that we are in decline. We are a nation in decline. It is the president's job to manage that decline. Other countries are rising up and they're better than us. And we need to make sure that we graciously step down as the world superpower and get in line with everybody else. That it's not just going to be us as the global hegemon anymore. We are going to have to share that spot with countries like China, which they love. They glaze China, man. But that's what we were told for 8 years by Barack Obama. All while he was drone bombing the fuck out of everybody. But he went around the world apologizing for American atrocities. He went around the world weak as can be, basically spewing globalist bullshit about how we're ready to join the global world, that we are, we're not going to just always take the lead anymore. We're going to learn to play nice with everyone. And it really gave places like Russia, places like China, places like India, Iran, new hope to think like, hey, we can become big in britches here. And for 8 years, we heard that with Barack Obama. So then in 2016, when Donald Trump inherits it, he's coming in saying, we got to make this country great again. We got to become the world leaders again. And I think probing like this was always kind of the goal. We saw the launch in Syria. We saw him do what he needed to do with ISIS over 2 years. But I didn't think we'd see this level of boldness, even in this term. And like I said, if you would have told me in 2016 that Trump was going to do a bunker buster bomb in Iran to destroy their nuclear sites, not just condemn them, not just say you need to end it, not just saber rattle and, eventually Khomeini would come in and say, we need X amount of money for the stop and we give it to him, right? That's usually how it worked. That's how it worked with North Korea forever. Kim Jong-il and Kim Jong-un did that for decades. And it always worked. The whole world did that for decades. Hey, we're not going to build anymore. We're not going to do anymore. Just give us more money and boom, billions go, right? That's what we've been doing forever. If you would have told me he was going to bunker buster bomb Iran in 2016, and then on top of that, if you would have told me that he was going to go into Venezuela and topple Maduro and with boots on the ground, basically going in there and arresting him, bombing the fuck out of them, 150 aircraft, that he was going to do both of those things as the president, I don't know if I would have voted for him. I would have been terrified. Because at that point, for 8 years, we were told we're shit. We're not the greatest military in the world. We're not the greatest country in the world anymore. And if we would have done that then, it would have been like, Russia's going to get in. We're fucked. And then China's going to get in. And this was before BRICS was a thing too. Maybe BRICS was in its infancy, but BRICS wasn't as big, but it was just kind of the deterrent of, we don't want to get dragged into major wars over places like Iran and places like Venezuela. Fast forward to today, so much has changed. And I go back to my original point. Russia being weak has opened up so many doors. Greenland's just another one. And again, everyone's talking about the resources and stuff. We already have a resource deal in place with Greenland. So on top of that, people forget he did that major deal with Greenland. So it's not like we're not already getting a ton of resources from them. This is now more of a, hey, Denmark, you're not doing your job. You're not doing your job keeping China and Russia the fuck away from here. So we're going to have to come in and do it for you. And what are you going to do, Denmark? Go to war with us? Good luck. Good luck. We don't give a shit if Denmark wants to go to war. The rest of Europe's not going to back Denmark. We're not going to go to war with Europe. They don't want war. They're not ready to go to war. None of those countries are. Do you think that their Muslim leaders would want to go to war, or would want any of their young men who are just coming in there to take the fuck over to go to war over Greenland and to defend Denmark? Hell no. Germany's not going to war. UK isn't going to war. France, they know they'll lose. They're not going to try. Italy, no. Maloney is allies with Trump. So who's going to fight for Denmark? Nobody. Russia can't help. We've seen that. China might say some things, but they're not going to do anything. So if Trump truly wants Greenland, they're as good as ours. Now, again, implications here, right? We've been basically telling Putin, stop going into Ukraine. You can't take over another country. They're a sovereign nation. And in the same token, We removed Nicolas Maduro, who has been acknowledged as an illegitimate president. I'm not necessarily wrong with that one. I'm not mad about that one because Trump, Biden, and then Trump again didn't acknowledge him. The EU says he's illegitimate. The people of Venezuela are ecstatic that Trump did that. This is an internationally positive thing that he did. You're seeing pushback from leftist leaders. No one gives a fuck about them. No one cares what they have to say. They're insignificant. But Greenland might be a different story. Denmark's not an enemy. Denmark is essentially an ally. Going and taking one of their territories might cross a line. Now, the Danes should 100% be more willing to work with us and to basically say to Trump, hey, just don't take it over and we'll do what you want as long as you offer us protection. That's what it should be. Because that's how this shit works, right? As Trump says we want Greenland, what Denmark should be doing is calling him saying, hey, don't take it. We'll do what you want. We'll get Russia and China out of there. We will exclusively work with you and your allies only in Europe and stuff. And we will, as long as you guys back us when we are kicking China and Russia out, we'll do it. And then Trump will be like, sure, that works for us. You save face. Everyone thinks I'm memeing anyway, so we're fine. And get them the fuck out and do not let them back in or we will come take it. That's what Denmark should be doing right now. The fact that they talk tough is laughable. Because does Denmark even have a military? Let's kind of do a quick search. Size of Denmark's military. Let's see. They have around 21,000 active personnel. Only 21,000 and 12,000 reservists with 51,000 volunteers in the Home Guard. What are you going to do? I guarantee a bunch of the weapons we give them. This makes no sense, Denmark. It makes no sense. It makes no sense at all for them not to just sit there and say to Trump, hey, we'll capitulate. We'll get them out of there. You just make sure you back us militarily and make it obvious to China and Russia that you're going to be the person that says, if you don't listen, we are backing Denmark. This is very, very simple. But this also brings me to this X post from Polymarket. And this was from last night. Justin, the U.S. has sent warnings to the governments of Mexico, Cuba, and Colombia that their countries could be next. Now, people are going to be mad about this. I'm not fully thrilled about this, right? Like I said last night, for all intents and purposes, Venezuela is a colony now. We're running it. I don't want to run 3 more countries on top of that. I don't want to run 4 countries outside of the United States. I don't want to have 4 extra colonies. Now, do I think it's going to come to that? I hope not. But the one thing we need to understand is these leaders aren't necessarily the leaders of their country. They are puppets of criminal gangs, cartels, other major special interests. So when what is her name over in Mexico? Shanahan, I believe it is, or not Shanahan, whatever. It's some Irish name. The leader of Mexico is essentially the only there because the cartels blessed her to be there. So she's at the behest of the cartels. And unless she gets serious about wanting help with the cartels, she's going to be an adversary, which is something we can't have, right? Mexico's our southern neighbor. Cuba's right off the coast of Florida. I understand Trump saying, hey, fucking get in line, fall in line. We won't have to come take you over and we'll create an alliance. Because I'm sure Trump would offer a military alliance for them. Like, do what you need to do, guys. And we'll have your back. Don't be afraid to do what you have to do type of stuff. But it's been wild to see what has been going on. And I just want to now look at some reactions here. So first and foremost, this reaction here from MFA Russia. It says the US committed an act of armed aggression against Venezuela, which gives rise to deep concern and warrants condemnation. The pretexts used to justify these actions are untenable. Russia reaffirms its solidarity with the Venezuelan people. A random fucking raccoon saying hello there, picking up on yesterday's topic, eh? A little bit. We're going to do this. We'll roll into some other things, but this is kind of this is still the biggest story. We talked earlier because Trump made the main announcement saying that we need Greenland for our national security because China and Russia are basically off their coast with boats. So it looks like his meme about Greenland might be legit, that he wants to take it. So, and I've been talking, and I did talk for the first 40 minutes about basically the implications of Russian weakness. And it's here that we're seeing them say it. Russian weakness in not being able to take over Ukraine that has caused Trump to be so bold, because Russia's not a deterrent anymore like they used to be. So they put out this post, and that was their statement. And there's more there. I'm not going to read the whole statement. But again, this is just Russia saying things. The fuck are they going to do? You're in the middle of a war, guys. I don't know if you notice this. You are in no position to help anything, to do anything to anyone. And here I want to show some more condemnation of people that just don't matter. Okay. So Dropsite News, their post has the EU foreign policy chief, Kaja Kallas, urges respect for international law after U.S. strikes in Venezuela and reiterates that the EU does not view Nicolas Maduro as legitimate. So let's go to Kaja Kallas, who is the whoever the fuck she is, policy person over there. She says, I have spoken with Secretary of State Marco Rubio and our ambassador in Caracas. The EU is closely monitoring the situation in Venezuela. The EU has repeatedly stated that Mr. Maduro lacks legitimacy and has defended a peaceful transition. Under all circumstances, the principles of international law and the UN Charter must be respected. We call for restraint. The safety of EU citizens in that country is our top priority. So it gets back to a point that we talked about last night, that there is no such thing as international law. Laws are only as strong as those who are enforcing them. And who enforces international law? It ain't Kaja fucking Kallas, I'll tell you that much. It ain't the EU. They can't get their shit together. It's America. We enforce international law. If there's an action that needs to be taken and there's muscle that needs to be there in order to take it, they don't send fucking French people. They don't send people from Netherlands or Norway. They send Americans. So the whole international law thing's a joke. There is no such thing as international law. So it's incredibly insignificant that this woman even said anything at all, because she truly doesn't matter. What she says and wants truly doesn't matter. None of it matters. She's rather insignificant. And again, cool, she spoke with Rubio. Rubio was making a fuck ton of phone calls more than likely last night. He was probably pulling his hairs out. But it's been wild, to say the least. It has been wild. So I want to talk and share some reactions from some people I saw, and some reactions I like, some reactions I thought were shit. So first and foremost, we're going to go to one of our former guests, Mitsu, Eric Ziadzio. I hope I didn't fuck her name up. But Mitsu says, if you sided with Venezuela in this action, you now find yourself agreeing with Iran, the Soviet Union, and it will be very telling whom among US/Western civic leadership will take which side. The lines were never drawn how you thought, but this is always what I saw. So that, I think, is an interesting take, because he's right. it is going to be very telling, and we're starting to see Zoran Mamdani calling the condemnation. Kamala Harris condemned it. It's like Pete Buttigieg, who we'll get to his condemnation. Patrick Bet David called him out. So it's interesting again to see who's responding and how they are. So we're looking over here. George over here at BZ Tweets. He had some good comments here. He said, all Trump has shown the nations of the world is that China and Russia are useless allies and partners to have, which is what I said a little bit earlier. We agree. He blew up Iran for Israel, and all they could say was, we stand with Iran against foreign aggression. And now he has blown up their favorite vassal state, Venezuela, and they're nowhere to be seen. Russia invaded Ukraine, and the United States spent hundreds of billions helping Ukraine put up a good fight. China is terrified of going into Taiwan because the United States might genuinely respond, we're not the same. And that reiterates everything I said, and it's 100% true. And he then shared this video here. Venezuelans absolutely celebrating. They are pumped. Honestly, I haven't seen as so many Venezuelan flags and things like I've seen over the last few days. So here's another, I think, awesome reaction and a good take on what's gone on in Venezuela. I read from an account that's pretty popular, Gummy Bear 737, and Gummy says, hot take on Venezuela. I am always happy when brutal dictators are deposed. So in this sense, I am glad that Trump took out Maduro. But these things don't always go as intended, which we have seen many a times. The issue is what comes next, and I don't think that the isolationists and paleocons are wrong to make this point. But of course, they exaggerate and pretend that this is another forever war. I don't think Trump has any plans to involve the U.S. military with boots on the ground in any combat or occupation role. Nothing about his rhetoric or past actions would indicate such a move, which after the press conference, I don't know when he wrote this. Hold on, let me just scroll down real quick. He wrote it early. So after the press conference, maybe that tone has changed. But still, I stand by that. And I almost agree to that even though he said we're willing to put boots on the ground, they were on there for the mission, I don't think he wants to do full occupation, shit like that. I really don't think that. We're going to continue. I also don't think this happened in a vacuum whereby the United States doesn't have contingencies for what comes next. In other words, I think they have pre-negotiated a transition with Maduro associates and or military leaders, which it seems like they did because the VP was sworn in. So then the issue becomes one of whether U.S. should be involved in regime change. Again, these things are very unpredictable, and it is possible to go from bad to worse. On the other hand, it's hard to imagine anything being worse than Maduro. And mind you, Gummy wrote this almost 3 hours, 2.5 hours before, more than that, almost 4 hours before the press conference. So we're looking at this with hindsight with the press conference. Also, look at the positives for U.S. strategic interest. 1, stems the wave of legitimate Venezuelan asylum seekers into the U.S. It also gives the U.S. a partner in which they can coordinate either deportation and repatriation of criminals and refugees. So that's a massive one, right? Because as people are coming in, Maduro was a legitimate reason to come here. So now we get asylum seekers saying, hey, we can stay home and rebuild here. We don't have to. Number 2, strengthens energy independence for the U.S. and Western Hemisphere, 100%. 3, diminishes influence of U.S. adversaries, China, especially in the Western Hemisphere, which I think was the main reason for going in outside of the energy. 4, curbs the spreading influence of far leftist doctrines and regimes in the region. 5, stems the flow of drugs somewhat. This was always a pretext, not a real direct cause of what happened. Like I said last night, it was the reason to go in, but not the exact reason to be there. It weakens BRICS, which we talked about. 7, reestablished U.S. credibility on the world stage and sends a powerful message of deterrence to our enemies and adversaries. Relevant for the mullahs in Iran facing mass protests, which are heating the fuck up. Russia being pushed to negotiate peace in Ukraine, and China thinking of invading Taiwan, which people are kind of echoing. Same things as me and others as well. I forget who pointed this out recently in my replies, but it was something like, you don't take Trump literally, but you do have to take him seriously. Very accurate way to put it. In short, I think this is a big positive, but also not without risks. But I think those risks are more easily mitigated in a country like Venezuela as opposed to places like the Middle East, which is a big major difference that they're right on our sphere. It's a much easier mission to go down to Venezuela instead of being all the way across the Atlantic Ocean in the Middle East. The upside is huge for American interests, which do exist, unlike the single variable analysis isolationists would have you believe. And I didn't see this one, but goes on to say 8, weakened capacity of Iran to coordinate terrorist attacks in the United States, which is very true. I didn't read Jason Brodsky's thing. I'm not bringing that up. So I thought those were all very, very pointed and very good opinions on the matter. But there isn't without detraction. And here's where I am going to get very critical of people. And I mean, I'm going to call it like it is. I'm going to call out people and call them stupid. So like right here, Kim Iverson. So really quick, I'm back. I didn't see your comment. Random fucking raccoon. So basically recounting the fact that America is basically just a bear everyone is poking. Yeah, they've been poking for a long time. And finally, we got a leader of the bear troop that doesn't fuck around and is now slashing some people. Woke up from hibernation. So Kim Iverson over here, who has become one of the Israel is everything shills, she says, if we can just capture presidents in the middle of the night, which that word, that legitimizes him. Maduro was an illegitimate president, okay? Can some country please go get Netanyahu and cart his ass off to The Hague? So this is stupidity, right? Because the thing is, the only people that call Netanyahu a war hero are dumbasses that think Israel's involved and does everything. And also, places like the UN. I don't think Kim Iverson likes the UN as much as I don't like the UN. But this whole entire Israel thing that they have going on is just retarded. No one's going after Netanyahu. People maybe within the country might go after him eventually because he's not the most popular guy there. And Trump has put him in his place multiple times in just a short year that he's been dealing with him again. But people like this who can turn something like this and be so obsessed are just absolutely crazy. And then here's another individual where I haven't heard much from Dr. Simone Godek. I don't know who the fuck really this person is. He has a following. Yeah, let's get on to him. He has a following. He has 1.1 million followers. He's a biotech scientist who saw the truth early, now focused on real health, some metabolic, off-grid living, blah, 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 blah. Okay. This is what he says. I can't take them seriously anymore. Maduro is accused, while Netanyahu, who is wanted by the International Court of Justice for genocide, is celebrated, hosted, and shielded. Selective quote-unquote justice isn't justice at all. Now, I think at one point, Simon was on the right or conservative-ish, okay? I think he might have been a Maha kind of hang around. So not super on the right, but dude's a leftist at this point. He's wanted by the International Court of Justice. That's not a thing. It doesn't exist, everyone. It's fake. The International Court of Justice is bullshit. And Netanyahu has been one of the most embattled leaders since I've been alive. By his own party, by people around the world. And Maduro is a major direct influence on America with Venezuela. Venezuela is right in our backyard. Israel's in the middle fucking east. These are these sick individuals who have twisted their brains to think that Israel's everything. Did Israel tell us to go take Maduro out? Did we do that because of Israel? Can someone explain to me how we did that because of Israel? What in Israel's interest is it for us going to take Maduro and to get the oil started again in Venezuela and to help free that country? What is in Israel's interest to do that? Can someone of the Israel first people, the Israel does everything wrong people, tell me? Because this psycho continues in another X post. Imagine the outrage in the West if Putin had kidnapped the president of a sovereign country. Again, same thing as Kim Iverson. Maduro's not the president. He was the illegitimate president. He lost an election and decided to stay. He was not recognized. He wasn't recognized. The EU didn't recognize him. We didn't recognize him. Many countries did not recognize him. He tortured his people. If Putin went into a country and took a president that was torturing his people, we'd condemn it. But if it was a place we were going to go after anyway, we probably wouldn't do a fucking thing. Simone Godek, doctor. It's like these people are just mind bent. Their ability to think has been so warped. It's bizarre. Bizarre. So we go on to a post here from Owen Schroyer, who says, so you're telling me we can capture the president of Venezuela? Again, illegitimate president. These people are just, you need to use the right words, guys. But we can't arrest Alejandro Mayorkas. He writes Anthony, but, Freudian slip, okay? So let me explain something. Let me explain something to you. Because I've seen a lot of people posting, what about Fauci? What about this? What about that? What about this? When it comes to using military boots and doing those operations, I'd imagine it's actually probably easier to go and do something like this than it would be to find Alejandro Mayorkas legitimate. I get it. Listen, we know the charges he should be charged for, right? He sucks. He's a piece of shit. He helped get all of these millions of illegal immigrants over the line. He helped do that. Like, that's him. That's Anthony Blinken. They all need to be taken up, right? But the issue is, number one, you need to find a prosecutor that's going to charge him. And number two, you need to make sure you have the evidence to make it stick. Now, we all think from our chairs that we know there is evidence. And I would agree that there's probably, hopefully, a lot. But going in with military might and taking someone in a stealth military action is possibly easier than going after an American citizen who worked inside of a cabinet, unless you can bring something pretty ironclad against him. So I think that people need to think a little bit. That might just be my nice way to put it. So here, I'm going to share another one. I don't want to show the footage just yet, maybe a little bit later. But Elijah Schaffer, who openly, I'm going to say, as someone I've invited onto the show, someone I'd have conversations, not really, but just enough like, hey, we do. And we've tried to work out some time. It hasn't worked. I have nothing against Elijah. I fucking loved You Are Here. I thought it was fantastic. I liked a good amount of Slightly Offensive when I was, watched and listened to some Slightly Offensive. I have liked Elijah Schaffer in the past. I think Elijah's a pretty smart dude, but I also think he's gone off the fucking deep end because he's another person that believes Israel is the cause of everything. So he says, we are desensitized that the USA is invading a sovereign nation, and everyone is just like, I guess this is just what we do. Nobody is phased. Everyone in America is sleeping soundly, and we wonder why the rest of the world hates us. Unreal timeline. So the rest of the world hates us because they're envious of us. And Elijah Schaffer should know that. He should know that. It's why so many people try to get to us. Because there is something about being American that they don't have. And they will never know. I mean, you go to even places like Europe. They don't have the same freedoms we have at all. And it's not that we're desensitized. It's some of us live in the real world, where I think that's another thing that people need to understand. Peace is the outlier in human history. Humans go to war. Humans fight. It's how we have done for our whole existence because we are a hierarchy-based people. in general, we live in hierarchies. And the way we figure out nations of hierarchies is who has more money and who can fuck each other up. And that's just the reality of the world. Would we like to be peaceful just as citizens? Yeah, we want to go about our day and do our thing. But when it comes to geopolitically, when it comes to politicians and governments, they are consistently competing for two things. Do we have more money than you? And can we blow you up? Can we beat you in a war? Because that is what breeds power. Nobody cares about a country that's poor and has a shit military. Nobody fucking cares. No one's threatened by them. No one in any way or shape or form. They're not going to take them economically. They're not going to threaten them with the military. If you get one of those things, you become a player. So we have, and again, I get it. Listen, I understand those that are like, I don't want to be involved. And I'm with you. I don't want to be involved in other people's problems. I don't want to be involved in Israel's problems. I don't want to be involved in Russia and Ukraine. I don't care. But when it comes to us doing our own actions, we need to look at them, and instead of just going critical right away, we need to take a step back and look and go, why did our president, who most of these individuals I brought up voted for, why did the guy that we voted for and the individuals that we have praised, who I think we've all think has done a pretty good job, Pete Hegseth has gotten all the DEI shit out. And I think we have seen the results of his labor of making us a killing force again, the most lethal force in the world. Marco Rubio has been a fantastic Secretary of State. Stephen Miller has been fucking on it when it comes to everything. Scott Bassett, economically, with the tariffs, it seems to have been working. Let's see if they can get domestic rolling. We could just keep going down the line. Tom Homan, fantastic on the border. We have a closed border. They are deporting people every day. Not as much as any of us wants, but the border's closed. It's not we are working with deficits at this point. Every person out is a legitimate person out because they're not pouring across anymore. Kristi Noem's done a nice job working with Tom Homan. So we have had, maybe the biggest ones that we've been bothered by have been Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, and Dan Bongino, who's now back to being a civilian. Those who we've been bothered by because we haven't gotten what we wanted in terms of justice. But justice moves slow. It always has. We complained about the Biden administration targeting all the Trump people because they moved quick with no real anything. And they listen, they did it. They did the wrong thing. We need to make sure we have things that stick. Because I know Navarro, what was it? Peter Navarro and Steve Bannon served their time. I get it. But when we put people away, I don't want to do it like them. I don't want to have a few months where they're in and then they come out. I want to put these people away for years. I want Anthony Fauci to go away for basically the rest of his life. I want Alejandro Mayorkas and I want Anthony Blinken to go away for a long time. I want Lloyd Austin to go away for a long time for his dereliction of duty, for disappearing and not fucking telling anyone where he is. For Afghanistan. I want all these people, and if we're going to do something, we need to make sure we have a case. So are we desensitized because we're invading a sovereign nation? No. It's just a way of life. And I think some people just need to mature and realize that. The peace side is the weird side that people aren't used to. So I'm going to go over here to Drew Hernandez, who I've liked Drew Hernandez's work in the past. I think Drew Hernandez is actually a really good journalist. He says, so we can launch precision airstrikes, capture Maduro, and transport him out of the country within minutes, but we can't put a single deep state Democrat in prison. And that's exactly what I just said. Why I get the sentiment. I understand it. I understand the anger. And I understand optically. It truly does look like Trump has done everything foreign and doesn't give a fuck about domestic. I understand all that. And asking for patience is hard when we've been rigmarolled for 8 years on, because you got to remember in the first Trump administration, he was so fucking hamstrung with impeachments and he had a hostile Congress. Even when he had power, when it was a Republican Congress, it was hostile. This one doesn't do shit, but they're not openly hostile. So there's that. I know Thomas Massey did his big speech. It's a rare time I disagree with Thomas Massey. Thomas Massey is way off on what he's saying about this current action, I believe. And I like Thomas. I think Thomas Massey's dope. I know a lot of MAGA people hate Thomas Massey, but I think Thomas Massey is a man of principle, and I like Thomas Massey. But we need to have patience. It's been a year. And we're all shitting bricks because we think we're going to lose the midterms. And that's because Congress isn't doing their goddamn job. And we leave it to people like Cliff Maloney and Scott Pressler to be the only fucking two people out there that are actually trying to make impacts in terms of knocking on doors. I'm as guilty as that. But why is it up to Cliff and Scott to go win elections everywhere? Where are the people in every single state doing this? Why hasn't there been a fire? And this is a young man's game. This is a single man's game, everybody. Single man, woman, I use the man, but if you're a woman and you want to do this, do it. But there is no reason why, if you are a single young individual that sees this and is like, fuck, we can't lose. If you're in a state that Cliff hasn't been in yet, he has New Jersey Chase, he has PA Chase right now, he has two of them going. If you're in a state that he's not in, why have you not gotten in contact with Cliff Maloney if you are young, if you are capable, and you are someone that thinks that you can go and have the bravery to go knock on doors and can rally people? Cliff will give you the resources. He will help you get there. He built PA Chase like a fucking madman. And him and Scott Pressler delivered Pennsylvania for Donald Trump. They worked their asses off in New Jersey. And it wasn't the result they wanted, but it wasn't for a lack of door knocking. Cliff knocked on 1 million doors over this last election cycle. 500K in Pennsylvania, 500K in New Jersey. His goal is 500K per election. If you're a young person who is conservative minded and wants conservatives to win, and you are in a state that Cliff's not in, get in touch with Cliff Maloney. You can make a change. If we had one person in all 50 states like Cliff Maloney and Scott Pressler that are willing to put their neck out and do this, we would fucking landslide the Democrats, even in a midterm year. And it's not too late to get started. It's January. The election's in November. It can happen now. Random fucking raccoon asking me, would you say your opinions are unbiased, Sir Alex, or at least with very little bias within them? I am fully biased, raccoon. I am on the right. I am unabashedly on the right. I'm a conservative. That is my bias. It is conservative. I voted for Donald Trump 3 times. I agree with Trump on a good amount of things. I disagree with Trump on things. I'm not afraid to say when I do disagree. I feel like leftism is evil. I don't think all Democrats are leftists, but I think their leadership is. And I think their leadership is evil. And they know what they're doing. So I don't think the people, the rank and file people, are evil. But I do also, it's hard for me to forgive rank and file people who continue voting for people that have called me a racist, a bigot, a Nazi, a fascist, a Islamophobe, a homophobe, a transphobe, quite literally my whole life because I disagree with them politically. I'll be friendly to them. I won't be a psycho like they will. But, I mean, I'm not going to sit there and defend them. New York City is going to reap what they sow with Mom Donnie. So in terms of my opinions, I wouldn't say they're unbiased. They're certainly a conservative swing. I'm not going to say I'm a moderate by any stretch. I am a conservative person. But I also try to be logical. I think that's where I come from. A place of logic more than irrational cheerleading or just spouting off. And I'm willing to have conversations and be checked. Me and my brother David disagree all the time. And it helps me because David makes good points at times. So, yeah, no, so I wouldn't say I'm unbiased. I'm certainly coming from a conservative bias without a doubt. So this continues here as we have Kyle Seraphin saying, cool, we are just doing coups and starting wars in our hemisphere. because this is from a response after Trump said Maduro doesn't want to fuck around with the United States. And mind you, Kyle Seraphin, you look at him, he's a former FBI agent, whistleblower. We had on Steve Friend. I like Steve a lot. Never talked to Kyle. But I think that in Donald Trump's press conference, and again, I think Kyle wrote that before his press conference, so I don't know if his opinion changed post that. But I think that they explained their reasoning pretty well. And Maduro, again, it's not like the one with I'm trying to think. Muammar Gaddafi. With Clinton and Obama. We saw he died, right? It's not like that, where he was a terrible leader, but he wasn't, I don't believe, the illegitimate leader at the time, where Maduro is bona fide illegitimate. So, yeah. And I don't know why people hate the Monroe Doctrine. If we bring our hemisphere to heel, it will only be good for us. It will only be good. There's actually, the Middle East doesn't fucking matter, right? Because they're all the way over there. It hurts us to go and do shit in the Middle East. But to do things in our own hemisphere, to get our sphere of influence under control, is only beneficial for the United States. There is very few negative for that. And if there isn't someone more knowing than me, please tell me. Random fucking raccoon saying, that is the human response. Good answer. No one could be unbiased. And they continue, as long as there is objective correctness, and yes, I believe that is a good thing. And I try. If someone comes to me with information that is, going to change my opinion, then yeah, 100%. 100% I will change it up and I will adjust. I'm not someone who's unwilling to adjust. But at the same exact time, I just try to look at things from a logical lens. So here, I want to finish off my reactions with this dumbass, Hassan Piker. Predictably, Hassan Piker is a moron. He says, belligerent madman sitting on the throne of a dying empire, lashing out in every direction, pulling the rest of the world into chaos and destruction. I mean, hilarious, actually. Because I'm looking around, it's a day later. I don't see the chaos and destruction yet. He didn't seem like a madman. Now I saying he wants Greenland kind of makes him look a little crazy. But a dying empire? This is a Nepo baby that got everything that he got because Cenk Uyghur's his uncle. That's it. He was a former alpha bro that couldn't make it doing that and has just switched to being a mega socialist, communist, Marxist, to be quite honest. Lashing out in every direction. I mean, we shouldn't give Hassan the relevance to talk about him so much. But at the same time, he is influential. He's massive. Like he has 1.6 million followers. And the guy is so, I don't even want to say surface level because that's a compliment to him. But man, random fucking raccoon saying again, it's really it's really that topic of looking back and having an open mind to things without instantly saying, no, that's wronger. And there are some things that I am very hardline on. There are some things that I will and I believe in the power of no at this point in my life. There are some things where I believe you do have to say to someone, no, you're wrong. And I think that there are times where that's okay to say that. No, you're wrong. I know you're wrong. And you're wrong. That's it. And I think that's okay. I do think that is okay to say sometimes. So I want to go in and I want to show some of the videos that we have of Nicolas Maduro being perp walked out of the plane. Because I thought the way he was handled was really interesting. Because it's usually, again, when you see these actions against world leaders like this, when we're trying to do removals, it's usually they kill them. It is very, very rare that they're alive. So right here, we have Nicolas Maduro being walked. That was the plane that he was walking. He's in cuffs. There's a whole bunch of agents around him. Like, this is a bizarre scene that is going to go down in history. Like, it's crazy, like, to think that you don't realize you're seeing history sometimes until it's right in front of you. And we don't need to hear this. It's just a lot of fucking noise. But you don't realize sometimes when you're witnessing history. I know people saying it like we're witnessing, like this is witnessing history. To see someone as brutal and as terrible as Nicolas Maduro being perp walked in the United States, and they landed in Stewart Airport, right near me, over here in New York. And I saw a funny meme that was sent to me by one of my friends. It's like, what worse could it be that you're landing in Newburgh, New York? Like, that is torture enough on itself. People in Newburgh are going to be mad at me, but I don't care. So this is him getting perp walked. And then we're going to go to this tab where it's from Disclosed TV that has Maduro entering DEA headquarters in Manhattan, escorted by escorts. So let's see this one. Another interesting.
Good night. Good night. Happy New Year.
Him trying to stay as cheery as possible. Now, I think Nicolas Maduro thinks he's going to get some sweetheart stuff because he seems to be like in good spirits. This over here from Eric Doherty. Photos released of Maduro giving a thumbs up to the cameras, flanked by federal agents in the U.S. Seems awfully happy to be facing a life in prison. So there's him giving a thumbs up while sitting there. And then there's him getting off the plane. Like, this is a very, very, very weird scene. It is a very weird scene, what is going on. This isn't normal, guys. I think we need to realize that this isn't a normal time that we are living in. So there is all that. I mean, I'm thinking we might be safe to watch now. Some of the bombs that were being thrown over, because I just think that is a very interesting thing to watch. Like I said yesterday, watching war has become so normal. So for those that haven't seen, I just think that we need to see, after hearing especially what the operation was. And let's see, what time are we at? An hour 20. Yeah, we're going to take a chance. Because if you haven't seen the social media and stuff like this is Nick Sorter saying, breaking total mayhem in the streets of Caracas, Venezuela. President Trump ordered to strike, blah, blah, blah. Let's see this attack and how it went down. So you're seeing things going crazy here. People running around because there are bombs going off. Look at all the people in the vehicles trying to get away. It's bizarre. Like, this situation has to be terrifying. Where do you go? Right? Where can you go? Where do you go when there's an active bombing going on in your country? It has to be so confusing. I mean, I have 2 kids. I'd be fucking terrified. So that was just the turmoil of, after the bombs started dropping. Now this here is 18 seconds of Apaches going in and operating in Venezuela, showing intense gunfire and activity here. So you're seeing the Apache helicopters right over there. returning fire. And I don't know. To me, this is incredibly fascinating that we explore. Like, that is insane. And I think that this is something that it's good that some of this stuff is out there. And that was from Election Wizard. Because this is showing that these aren't people to fuck with. Drop Site News having some footage of explosions in Caracas. We'll watch this one. Now, this is the one that I was talking about yesterday where you're seeing the overhead. And when they said it was dark, look at this big region here. And that's where the bombs are going off. The rest of it's lit up all around. That looks like the region that when they said it was dark and they took things out, that looks like the spot that they were talking about, that they shut this fucking area down. And I'm still curious where the capability came from to just make them go dark. Because all you see is just boom, 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 explosion, explosion, explosion. And then we go to the second video here, and this is another video of some of the aircraft going just over. And look at how low they're flying, and there's bombs going off, and I think those are I don't think the aircraft are letting those off. Those were the as the, General Kane was talking about how they were the helicopters going in, and there's other spots from the air, from the water, giving them cover and blowing these places the fuck up to give them cover. I couldn't even imagine living through this. Like, this would scare the shit out of me. I don't know about you guys. Could you imagine, though, going through this, having so much uncertainty, not knowing what's going on as Venezuelan? You see things getting bombed. You hear at some point, from state media, from the state that it's the United States, we're not giving in, we're activating, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, the next thing you know, you're being told that Nicolas Maduro's gone. Oh, shit. Did it not share anything? What is going on here? It didn't share. I just fucked all that up. Sorry, guys. A random fucking raccoon saying, it always interests me how Twitter will say we have terms in this user that posts our artwork violates them. Meanwhile, they show people literally being blown to bits. Yeah. I mean, David did say that he doesn't know if that's going to be kosher. What the fuck did I do? Let me go back and share this. I will talk as these are going on. I'm going to mute them because I don't want it to make noise. But that was the video that I just watched without anyone seeing. Sorry, guys. But you're seeing, like, again, there's that blackened area that General Kane talked about that just has the explosions going on. And like I was saying, I want to know how they accomplished that. And then I'll skim over and go to the next one. We'll mute this one as well. But this one shows the aircrafts going over and then the protective fire being given to them. Now, I don't know if YouTube's going to be too mad at this because you don't see any, like, actual death. You see the planes flying over, you see some explosions, but you don't see anyone actually getting killed. So sorry, YouTube, if you're mad about this. I hope you don't get mad. But I just thought that it's bizarre to see war just occurring. I don't know. I don't know if it's just me, but I just think that it's crazy to watch. So let's look at this one. I think this is the last one we have. Election Wizard saying President Trump confirmed U.S. military carried out a large-scale strike in Venezuela early Saturday morning, took Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and his wife into custody. So I want to watch this one because this one was, I think, is the one first one that I saw. And it is blowing up like the 4th of July. So let's see this. Look at all of that. Like, it has to be terrifying. I don't know how somebody keeps filming that close. That has to be scary. But again, this puts on display the might, the strength, the power of the United States and the fact that we don't fuck around. So the last thing I want to do is I want to show a comment from Michael Fallon. I think we're going to close out the topic after this. We'll go on to some new stuff. But he says, this is Michael Fallon of Sovereign Nations. The quote, warmth of collectivism was about to cool down in Venezuela. And that's a quote from Mamdani. In September 2018, Maduro traveled to China to strengthen bilateral relations with Chinese Communist Party through CCP's Belt and Road Initiative. This morning, the United States took a significant step to counter the CCP's efforts to influence global political and economic systems in the pursuit of a multipolar world. China has created a ring of direct influence. Did I not fucking share this one either? God damn it. What is going on? I'm clicking share and it's not sharing. Good thing I was reading this one. There we go. Now it's sharing. Maybe I should check and make sure things are sharing first. I'm sucking at this tonight. But anyway, he says China has created a ring of direct influence in the Caribbean that will need to be addressed in the coming months. There will be justified questions, however, about the use of military force without the sanction of Congress. At the same time, the degree of CCP influence in the halls of Congress is troublesome. So I agree. I agree with them there that it is something that needs to be addressed. Now, something else that is interesting, we talked about yesterday or 2 days ago, Iran rising up. I don't have much in terms of videos and stuff with Iran. I've seen some things, nothing I've truly liked or wanted to bring up. But this is pretty crazy to me. Random fucking raccoon saying, honestly, first things, no time to cry or be scared. First, get my loved ones out of the house. Secondly, find out where the furthest I can possibly go is. That is true. Yeah, that's what I would be. Where am I going? How are we getting out of here? So the Fay Tux Network, which I don't know what that is, protests have been confirmed in 108 towns and cities across Iran. And when you look here, that's a lot. It's all a western region here. And I can't zoom in, but the red protest that began in December 29th, 2025, that's the dark red ones. Orange protest that began the 30th of December of 2025. Yellow protest that began the 31st. And then you have lime, the protest that began on New Year's Day, which you're seeing a bunch of them popping up. The dark green protest that began on the 2nd, which there's some over here on the right. There's some over here up top. Those are in some new spots. Light blue, they began on the 3rd, which a bunch popped up on the 3rd. And then dark blue are right here. This is a very coordinated and calculated effort. And I think that this is very, very, very interesting because we could be seeing Khomeini, and I saw something saying that Khomeini has a contingency plan to get out of the country and flee to Moscow if it gets too deep. So we'll see what goes on there. We're going to keep on monitoring the Iranian situation as it goes. But man, it's geopolitically going crazy right now. There is a lot going on, and we're going to continue to really look into things, and I'll continue to talk about these types of crazy things. But let's stay a little bit more political for a little longer, and then we're going to shift gears, okay? Because I'm tired of talking about politics only. Oh, this is the last one I had to share in terms of Maduro and stuff, and I forgot to get to this one. But Patrick Bet David had a post saying, didn't you tweet this in 2020? Are you no longer with Venezuelan people who are celebrating the fall of Maduro? Or are you just playing politics? Which is it? And this is in relation to Pete Buttigieg. Now, what did Pete say to warrant this? Pete said, it's an old and obvious pattern. An unpopular president failing on an economy and losing his grip at power at home decides to launch a war for regime change abroad. The American people don't want to, quote unquote, run a foreign country, while our leaders fail to improve our life in this one. And that is what prompted the Patrick Bet David to post this. And this is what Pete Buttigieg said just 6 short years ago. The illegitimate takeover of the Venezuelan National Assembly is further evidence that dictator Maduro will stop at nothing to consolidate his grip on power. I stand behind Juan Guaido and the Venezuelan people as they strive to reclaim their democracy and defend their rights. So I think that's a legitimate question from Patrick Bet-David. Over to Pete Buttigieg. Which is it? Which is it? Do you stand with the people? And the crazy part is, at that time, you could have done something, Pete. You guys were just getting into office. You were a part of the whole entire regime. Now, obviously, you were a terrible transportation secretary, one of the worst, who took time off for paternity leave for like 6 months. You were awful. And he's going to run for president again, which is fucking hilarious. But which one is it? You could have done something. You could have absolutely done something in that administration. You could have had Biden's ear, which, again, Biden didn't know what the fuck was going on. But you could have had somebody's ear to try and get something done. What happened, Pete? It was all politics, and we know it, right? We know it was all politics. But all right, so let's get on to something different, because I'm tired of talking about just, Maduro and all that shit going on. It's the most important thing in the world right now. The Iranian thing is massive, but let's get into this. Redline Report has this from 2 days ago. Don't start talking yet, Marco. But saying that major shift just dropped. The U.S. government says foreign aid will now go straight to national governments, not routed through NGOs anymore. Which, first off, the fuck were they being routed through NGOs for anyway? What? Why were they going through? I get it. There's these peace NGOs that are designed, but I mean, that should be the government's job to disperse it out to NGOs, not where our. So all this time we've been giving money to countries, they've been going to NGOs to line their pockets. How fucking stupid. They continue here. The logic is blunt. If the goal is to help a country, fund the country, not middleman turning aid into their next business model. Do you support this, yes or no? And let's listen to what Secretary Rubio had to say 2 days ago.
The United States has spent billions of dollars over the years in helping with health strategies all across the world. What we learned over time, and especially after coming here,
and obviously they're talking to Kenya there because that is the Kenya national flag,
is that oftentimes, and I'm oversimplifying it, but this is an accurate description. What would happen is we would go to a country and say, we're going to help you with our health care needs. Then we would drive over to Northern Virginia somewhere, find an NGO, one of these organizations, give them all the money, tell them go to this country and do their healthcare program for them. That NGO would then take about, some percentage of that money for their overhead.
And this is so crazy, right? That this is how it worked. Hey, we're going to give you money. You make the deal with the country, right? You make the deal with the foreign leader, the dignitary, whether it's the president or another secretary of state, like, his contemporary. You make the deal with them like, hey, we're going to give you money. And you don't give it to them. Like you said, you go to somewhere in Virginia, DC, something like that, and say, and you find it, which is crazy. It's like, that's what you do. They're all over there, right? They're all headquartered right there because they're getting all these government handouts to go and do their job, apparently, and they're not. And it's crazy. They're non-government organizations that the governments work directly with. They're fucking government organizations. The whole entire label needs to be changed.
Administrative costs. And by the time it got down to it, the host country had very little influence. It was sort of imposed on them. And only a percentage of the overall money ever actually reached the patients and the people on the ground that we were trying to help because of these costs.
Now, in that too, the issue with that as well is that gives such plausible deniability to some of these governments. Now, I know he's talking to a Kenyan dignitary there, and that's who they were dealing with. But Africa is a perfect example of a lot of this. Because I think most people look and go, why hasn't anybody been able to help Africa? Why has Africa remained so poor for so long? And you have a lot of blame on the governments. The governments do have a lot of corruption there, but what government doesn't, right? We've seen it in our own eyes, in our own fucking government. But if this is the way it's been going, this gives those governments such plausible deniability for why certain things haven't turned around when they're getting aid. Because even for me, I always thought we give the money to the countries and then the countries basically pocket it and they give very little to the people. But this is giving them plausible deniability saying, hey, we barely saw you allocated $50 million to us. We maybe saw $4 million of that. We have no idea where that money went. You gave it to Africa Peace United. And there you go. And meanwhile, Africa Peace United is probably giving more to some of the officials in these countries while taking it on their own and giving very little to the people.
This makes no sense. So why are we hiring American and international NGOs to go into other countries and run healthcare systems that are parallel and sometimes in conflict with the healthcare systems of the host country?
And that's another thing too. It's like, if we're going in and we're bringing in a Western style thing to a country that doesn't have Western sensibilities, certain healthcare things and things like that, and it's not actually helping them. It's not doing what it's set out to do.
If we're trying to help countries, help the country. Don't help the NGO to go in and find a new line of business. And so that's what the model that we're breaking. We're not doing this anymore. We are not going to spend billions of dollars funding the NGO industrial complex while close and important partners like Kenya are either have no role to play or have very little influence over how healthcare money is being spent. Bottom line is, if you want to help a country, work with that country.
I think that is a better stance. It's a much better stance in terms of how we can actually help these individuals and these individual countries. Now, what this also does is, like I said before, we can absolutely now turn around, and if that money is spent incorrectly, I have no idea what's going on with that screen there. That's weird. If that money is not being spent properly and we're not seeing anything happen in terms of getting the people, better healthcare and things like that, if it's meant for that or wherever the money was meant to go, then we can turn around to that government and go, we just gave you $50 million. We get you have administrative overhead. Okay, that's $1 million or $2 million gone. Where did the rest of the 48 go? Let me see the paper trail of where any of this went. Now, I still think these governments are corrupt. I still think these politicians are going to be very corrupt. I don't think that is going to change as much. It will make them think twice about completely just pocketing it, right? Because they're going to have to go, damn, I can't just fully take it. We have to answer to the United States for some of this shit. Smoking Gent, what's going on? USA, USA, USA. Drill, baby, drill. And a random fucking raccoon saying, I feel like a lot of people hate America because they're jealous and because they have selfish ideals. I also think, I don't think hate is the right word, because I've heard from a lot of people too, the reason why we're disliked isn't for what we think. Yeah, we're boisterous and loud, but it's also because we're incredibly fucking friendly. Like most countries, they don't talk to each other like we would with random strangers. It's very common and almost expected in the United States for, if you're standing online and you catch eye contact, to at least at minimum just be like, how's it going? And it's not a surprise to us if an individual then starts having a conversation with us. And a lot of us, don't want to always engage. But, you do it out of courtesy and you have a little conversation and then you go on about your day. Most countries don't do that. They find that really fucking weird. They find that to be one of the weirdest parts about Americans, is that we talk to each other. We, perfect strangers, have conversations and we talk to each other. They find that to be bizarre. Now, I also think there is a little bit of jealousy there. I agree, because they don't have the same freedoms we do. They have a lot of pride in their country, but they don't have a constitution like we do. They don't have guaranteed freedom of speech and weapons, which is massive, right? We have freedom of speech and we have right to bear arms so that we can have weapons in case our government becomes tyrannical to overthrow it. And we have a different gun culture to the point too, where that right to bear arms only falls on if you want to have a firearm to protect yourself, not to go hunting. That's always been a misnomer. If you want to go purchase a hunting shotgun, you can. We're allowed to hunt everywhere. You can't have a A handgun, most places, you need to have a register for that. But you can go hunt. And there's a lot of countries that don't even have that, where it is your right to hunt. That sets us apart. That sets us apart in so many different ways. And just our Constitution and the way it's formed and the way how deliberate it is, and the fact that it is not rights given by our government, which a lot of governments give their people rights. It is what the government, the Constitution is saying only what the government is allowed to do. Our rights are given by God. It flat out says that. Our rights are given by God. And our government does not have the right themselves to ever trounce on any of our inalienable rights. That is written in the Constitution. That's rare that something like that is written in. So the Constitution is basically laying out only the powers of what our government has, period. It's not giving us anything. It doesn't give us anything. Nothing. The government doesn't grant us shit. We run the government. Smoking Jen coming in saying, Mom's dummy said the action was against federal and international law. Greasebag America dictates federal and international law. Agreed. And wasn't against federal law. Article 2 allows them to do it. Because they used smartly going in as a law enforcement action because Maduro was indicted and they were extraditing a criminal. And international law doesn't exist. I will say that again. Random fucking raccoon saying, I agree if you sit two people who just met in a car together in America, they would have a full-on 2 to 3 hour convo. Agreed. And there's a possibility that they would exchange numbers and be friends later. That's normal. And it is also normal more normal, still weird, but for random strangers, especially with like Uber, if you do the Uber carpool, you can get a person picked up with you, a random stranger. Where in other countries, you're like, absolutely not. Not getting in with a random stranger, kick rocks. Those things don't happen. Smoking Jen asking, do you think Cuba and Haiti will be next if they keep fucking around? We talked about this a little earlier. I hope not. I hope that this was a shot to the bow and that they will all start to kind of fall in line. I understand why. I don't think Haiti. I don't think we have. I don't know about Haiti, but I know. I think Cuba's there. So it's interesting. A fucking raccoon saying, have you ever done so? Laugh aloud, just casually have a full conversation with someone you just met in a car. Not in a car, but like in a public space. Yeah. Yeah, in a public space. Just randomly just started, if we were both waiting online or something, just got into a full conversation and things like that. Or especially if like we're at like, we have like a water park by us here. And you set your stuff down. I've had conversations with our neighbors just randomly there and full-on conversations and things like that. It's not uncommon. It's not an uncommon thing. But to answer you, Smoking Jen, about Cuba and Haiti, I don't know. Cuba, I think, is more likely, but I don't know, and I hope not. I don't want to keep on going into those type of actions. I'm not. I've said it already. I understand it, but I'm not too keen on it. So let's hop into this because I found this interesting. That I heard. Oh, what is going on with the way that this is set up? Hold on. Let me see if I can fix this. So boop. Why is that on the side there? Is that something to do with the zoom? Does that look better? It does. So let's see if we can zoom it back in if it looks nice again. Because it was looking fine before. No, this is stupid. Okay, I got to zoom out a little. Sorry. Okay. So here we are. We have this from CBSnews.com, and this happened, I think, on the January 1st. So the quote is from CBS, I report for you. The new CBS Evening News launches on Monday, and our new anchor, Tony Dokapil, is making a promise to viewers. You come first, not advertisers, not politicians, not corporate interests. From now on, what you see and hear in the news will reflect what you see and hear in your own life. We will ask the questions that weren't being asked before, and we will work every day to earn trust back. Now, I want to watch what he says, but at the same time, do we care, right? Do we care? Random fucking raccoon saying, I mean, like, it's nice to be friendly, but if you just wave to someone in most other places, they will look at you like you're a creep. 100%. 100%. All right, let's see what this character has to say here.
On too many stories, the press has missed the story because we've taken into account the perspective of advocates and not the average American.
And on top of that, yeah, that's true. And he doesn't want to say the elites, the educated fools, but that's who they've taken, the experts, right?
Or we put too much weight in the analysis of academics or elites and not enough on you. And I know this because at certain points, I have been you. I have felt this way too.
I mean, has he? He's married to Katie Turk, Katie, whatever it is, who's a mega lefty. And it's not uncommon for like, people are like always like, oh, if one person, it's not uncommon for people to be married that don't politically agree. That used to be something that's normal. The fact that we're seeing divorces over like people that support Trump and stuff is wild. So it wouldn't surprise me if he leaned a little more to the right, but I don't think this guy is a closet conservative or anything.
I felt like what I was seeing and hearing on the news didn't reflect what I was seeing and hearing in my own life. And that.
Now, it's interesting, too, because this has to be part of the Barry Weiss effect, where I know I'm not a huge fan of Barry Weiss. I don't think Barry Weiss is perfect. I think she's still much more on the left than on the right. But she does want a little more free speech involved. And I think this is what we're getting from it, where he feels that it's okay for him to speak out because Barry is now his boss.
The most urgent questions simply weren't being asked. So here's my promise to you today and every time you see me in this chair. You come first, not advertisers, not politicians, not corporate interests.
Now, the question is, what do you mean you, right? Is he talking to the typical CBS viewer, which is more than likely on the left, which is who they've been pandering to? They've been pandering to the furthest left, the leftist. Is this going to mean a shift into talking about more conservative talking points without the condescension? Are some of our questions going to get asked and potentially answered? Are you going to start bringing on guests that typically you would have never seen on CBS and not treating them with hostility? There's no trust here. I was listening to Side Scrollers earlier with a former guest Stuttering Craig, and they were talking about this, and Phoenix on over there, who Phoenix is awesome. If you haven't checked out his Rumble Panda Sub, I think it's Panda Sub 2000 is his Rumble. Go check it out. Phoenix is a absolute whiz. He's fucking hilarious. But Phoenix brought up the point of, get the fuck out. We don't care. We don't care what you have to say anymore. You had your chance many a times. You've blown it over and over and over and over and over. Why should we give you another chance just because you say you've changed? This is quite literally, and I agree with Phoenix in a lot of ways. This is, I don't know if anyone remembers South Park, Bigger, Longer, Uncut. But when Saddam Hussein was trying to convince Satan that he's not going to be the evil guy he is because they had a gay relationship in that movie, this is exactly like them all going with the song from whatchamacallit, Saddam. I can change, I can change. No. The stripes stay the same. I don't trust any of them. But let's finish this.
And yes, that does include the corporate owners of CBS. I report for you on too many.
I mean, that was the end of it. I think there was a little bit of a longer one, but that's the only one I got. I don't know. Guys, what's your opinion on this? Because do you think that CBS, even under the direction of a Barry Weiss who ran the Free Press, and the Free Press had some good and some bad articles. It wasn't like they were great. But what is your opinion on this, on what was just said? For me, I lean more towards the Phoenix, where yes, and I think he says hold me accountable at some point. Like it's a longer one. But what are we going to report? Are you going to go in there and make corrections? Because for me, if you want me to start believing you and you really want to show that you made that change, okay. Whatever your name was, I forget what his name was. Go in there now, and as you're there, I want to see him go in there and go in with the correction of the day. You want to convince me shit's different? Go in, look at your reporting of Trump during Russiagate, of the Trump impeachment, of COVID, of the vaccines, of Trump being indicted, of his lawyers being indicted, of the Hunter laptop story. That's what I would like to see him go in and every single day on the evening news, go in and say, I want to come right out, and that's to earn your trust as the viewer. I need to issue a correction onto this story from this time, and go story by story, issuing the correction. If he does that, if CBS Evening News does that, maybe you'll get a chance. Maybe maybe you can come back into the circle of trust. And I don't want to see just absolute glazing of Trump. I don't want to see absolute glazing of everything conservatives do and everything conservative right and everything. I don't want to see that. That's not productive. I don't care if you have a differing opinion. Just don't fucking lie. And it wasn't even lies by omission by lies. It was just flat out lies. And allowing guests to just flat out lie. If he comes in and he starts issuing correction upon correction upon correction amongst all the journalistic malpractice, at least from Trump, from 2016 through now, a decade of corrections, you got me interested. Maybe you'll gain a viewer. Unless they do something that extreme, fuck off. A random fucking raccoon saying 2 chances at most. And then a random fucking raccoon all saying, also news channels are so corrupt nowadays that I honestly trust my own research more in the news. 100%. I don't watch any network news. I don't watch CNN, MSNBC, or MS Now, Fox News, OAN, Real America's Voice, CBS, any of them. I don't watch any of them. They suck. They're just giant editorial pieces. And most of them is just being a cheerleader. Fox News is awful. You have Jesse Waters and you have Gutfeld. That's it. Only 2 reasons to watch, if you watch anything. You find your sources you trust and challenge your own belief system. That is my best advice. Find your sources that you trust, the people that you think may not be lying to you. And then challenge yourself. That is this challenge your belief system consistently. If you're really passionate on something, and say you just got into a debate with a family member and they brought something up and you're just like, couldn't disprove that. Maybe there's something there. Maybe you should go do some research. But I got a few more things to jump onto, and then we're going to get out of here. First things first, let's jump to this. We're jumping to some sport ball. Football. Nope. Random fucking raccoon saying, and when I say my own research, I don't mean looking up my opinion and seeing one thing and being like, ha, I knew it. I mean finding as many sources as possible and connecting the dots, as you should. As you should. But we're going to go to this. We're going to talk some sports to round out tonight. So, Cleveland Browns, defensive end, Myles Garrett, is officially the single season sack king. Let's watch his sack when he broke Michael Strahan's single season
First
sack.
down. Burrow, he's under pressure, he's sacked! And there it is, a record that has stood nearly a quarter of a century has a new leader as 30-year-old Myles Garrett records his NFL record 23rd sack of the year, passing Michael Strahan and T.J. Watt on the all-time list.
So I have a problem. We're going to mute this real quick. Why are all these final sacks so fucking weak? That is a weak sack. Like, let's go. I wouldn't even want this record. Burrow just falls down. Burrow gave up. That's as bad as Brett Favre giving it to Strahan. That is as bad. That sucked. That fucking sucked. Now, mind you, I'm not a guy that likes Myles Garrett at all. Nate coming in saying too many games, these records are less meaningful. Agreed. This came in an extra game. So while it's the record, it came in an extra game. But on top of that, all right, I'm done watching this bullshit. Get out of here, Myles Garrett. On top of that, I am of the opinion, and I've been of the opinion, that Myles Garrett shouldn't even be in the NFL. Myles Garrett should have been arrested a long time ago. Nothing he did off the field. It's what he did on the field. It's got to be, God, at least 6 years ago now, 7 years ago. It's been a while. But during an altercation in a game, no sports fan forgets when Myles Garrett ripped the helmet off of Mason Rudolph, backup quarterback for the Steelers, and swung and didn't connect full strength, but was swinging fucking hard and made contact on Mason Rudolph's head. Listen, I played football. I played contact sports. Tensions run high. You sometimes want to get into a fight, and it's normal, especially in football. It's physical. But if you've ever played football, any sport like that, you know just how dangerous that helmet can be. And a guy the size of Myles Garrett swinging that thing as hard as he can, overhand like he did, it's a deadly weapon. That's an absolute deadly weapon. Myles Garrett should have been charged with assault and potential attempted murder there. I'm not even kidding. Maybe people would say I'm going too far, but no, fuck that. Mason Rudolph should have pressed charges, and Myles Garrett should have been put in handcuffs. Nachi saying TJ Watt did his record in 15 games. Yeah, but here's the thing with TJ Watt. I have a friend who's a Steelers fan, so I always give him shit, so I'm not going to give it to TJ Watt. Fuck TJ Watt. That's the only reason, honestly. I like TJ Watt. It's just my friend's a Steelers fan. I have to rib him. But when it comes to Myles Garrett, he is one of two people that I think should have been out of their sport. Ron Artest being the other one. Meta World Peace. Ron Artest, the malice at the palace was one thing. Because the malice at the palace was caused by fans being assholes, right? And we've seen basketball players fight. That's normal. I don't care if basketball players fight. He was an aggressive dude. When he did that elbow to the side of James Harden's head, who I believe was a rookie at the time. Again, where he almost hit James Harden, if he would have connected with the temple, James Harden could have fucking died. Ron Artest, another one that should have been taken out of the sport. Gone. But back to Myles Garrett. There has been a concerted effort to make Myles Garrett look like this great guy. And here's the thing. Maybe Myles is a nice guy. I don't know Myles Garrett at all. I don't know anything about him. All I know is I don't remember ever having him apologize about what he did to Mason Rudolph. Maybe he did. Maybe I just missed it. But Random fucking raccoon saying arrested for years for assault and cannot be able to play football again. I agree. Shouldn't have been able to play football again. Because it was crazy. He swung that full intention to truly hurt Mason Rudolph. It wasn't a soft swing. I'm curious if I could find that swing. So Myles Garrett, Mason Rudolph. Let's see if there's anything on X here. Oh, here we go. Yeah, here it is. Let's see. Are you guys with me still here? Boom. Let's see. Share the screen. This is the play. This is the exact play. Let's watch it unfold. And you guys can be the judge and say if I'm over exaggerating here. Takes his helmet off. And look at that. Look at the way he fucking overhanded that. Luckily, Rudolph didn't get hurt, but he rips the helmet off. Football shouldn't happen. But then overhands it. Overhands it. And rightfully so. Yeah, they fucking come in and start kicking him and everything, and Pouncey's on him. But for me personally, like, look at that. He hit him.
Gosh, that's one of the worst things I've ever seen on a professional sports
Myles
field.
Garrett should not have been allowed to play football after that. I'm sorry, y'all. That should be, you should be gone. That's well outside of the realm of the sport. It's a violent game. I get that. But that's not a part of it. I'm okay with fighting. I'm honestly okay with fighting. When they were in the scuffle, he ripped his helmet off. Whatever. If he would have just fucking thrown the helmet and went to go grab at him and thrown a few punches, fine. That's football. That is football. To go and swing the helmet like that? I don't know, man. I don't know. Random fucking raccoon saying those are some real teammates right there, came to defend their teammate. Absolutely. Because that's here's the thing. You defend someone because that's so outside the realm. Nachi saying I wouldn't get to assault charges, civil at worst. Marty McSorley and Donald Bashir's hockey career by swinging a stick at his head ended in a civil suit. Here's the thing. It all depends on how much you want to take it, right? Like, there becomes a time where in these certain games, it stops being a part of the game, and then certain things start being weapons, right? Like that just comes to it. Once that stick is used outside of a normal way, right? Like sometimes sticks get into legs and you hack. Like, that's normal in hockey. But once it's intentionally being used in an attempt to truly harm outside of the parameters of the game, like honestly, the fact that ended up in a civil suit is wrong. The fact that we have now enshrined Myles Garrett in the history of the game as the sack king, single season sack king, is an absolute travesty to me. The guy shouldn't be in the NFL. He at minimum should have been kicked out of the league. And for me personally, if I'm Mason Rudolph, I would have filed assault charges. He didn't want to seem soft more than likely, and he didn't want to. But to me, that is someone his size swinging a helmet. And again, Mason Rudolph is lucky that it hit in the open side mostly, and it wasn't turned and the crown didn't hit him. Because it did hit him and it fucking hit his head. If the crown came down and hit Mason Rudolph, he would have been a bloody fucking mess, man. That is wild that guy is now going to be enshrined. And I've seen videos with him, like yucking it up with guys, being a great veteran now, being so nice to the other team. And it's like, is this a concerted effort by the NFL to erase that play? To try and make people forget that he did that? That he more than likely shouldn't even be in the league? Like, it's crazy. Naichi's saying they're pretty lax. Darnell Nurse slashed Rupe Hints in the foot. Broke his foot. Just got 5K and Rupe is an all-star center. Agreed. Listen, hockey's also a different animal. Hockey's also a different animal in that. A random fucking raccoon saying, yeah, those helmets are made to be close to as tough as iron. And he also comes back and says, that could have been ended with brain trauma and brain injuries or deadly brain bleeds. Exactly. So that's where I'm at when it comes to that. That's why I, again, as someone who played football, someone who doesn't care about fighting, who, whatever, that's part of it. That was well above the pale to me. And I thought it was an embarrassment that he was still allowed to play football. And now he's the NFL single season record holder, which makes it even worse for me. Okay. So we're going to end on two cool things here. First one is wild to me. So look at the ninja skills of 49ers linebacker Fred Warner. Is a fucking ninja. And I think that's not even light to say. Look at him and the way he moves, man. This looks like AI. I muted the music because that was loud. But like, honestly, just watching this, like, I'll watch it again. Like, look at that. Like, he is a fucking ninja to be doing this shit. I wouldn't want to fight this guy. He can really fight. Like, this isn't a joke. Like, Jesus Christmas. I found that to be awesome. I thought that was cool. Naichi saying Garrett tried to blame it on racism too. Of course he did. Of course he did. But a word should not cause that type of violence. You want to punch someone in the mouth because they said something racist? Fine, right? Some people just need to get a good punch in the mouth. I'm okay with that. The fact that it's okay to basically maim somebody over a word, that we've societally made that okay, is wild. Is absolutely wild. You shouldn't be able to maim or kill somebody because they said a word. You want to hit them, you can hit them. Racist person maybe deserves to get a punch in the mouth. That's fine. But man, the way that and that's such an easy cudgel too, an easy thing to say, well, he said something racist. It doesn't give you a right to hit him in the head with his fucking helmet. Random Raccoon saying there are some people that would be insane to fight, and I'd love to have a friendly sparring matches with people like this just to get better myself. Random Raccoon saying, I'm no bodybuilder, but I live for the art of the word fight. Do you do any like MMA, mixed martial arts stuff, Raccoon? Any cool stuff like that? David is actually, he did some MMA stuff and he's been doing boxing a lot too. You'll get to meet David on Wednesday if you come around, Random fucking Raccoon, because my brother typically co-hosts the show Tuesday. If I come on Tuesday, maybe he will jump on with me because he's off. But, he typically co-hosts the show with me, so you'll get to meet him there. So I thought that was really cool. Seeing a guy who, and Fred Warner is not a small guy whatsoever. He's a linebacker. He's 200 plus. To be able to move like that is just ridiculous. All right. And I'm going to end off on this because this is something else that I thought was super cool. From Complex Pop Culture, a gamer on Reddit has completed his goal of collecting every single North American Xbox 360 game after 20 years since the day he started. He received the system and his first game, Gun, on Christmas in 2005 and received the last game he needed for his collection, Pro Evolution Soccer, which is a great game. I haven't played 2018, but Pro Evolution Soccer is a fucking awesome series. By his son, Christmas of 2025. So this is the picture of all the games, his setup. I mean, that's freaking awesome, guys. That is freaking awesome. If you like games, like I'm not the gamer I once was, but I still truly enjoy games. That's a really cool thing. That's quite the accomplishment. There's a few $1,000s in there, probably more with some rare games. Because I mean, when you start this quest, I guarantee most of them are still in mint condition, because when you start something like this, you want to be a collector, right? So that's really cool. Kudos to this Redditor, and it's Uncle Seath, I guess, is the Redditor, because that's where it came from. So that is absolutely awesome. Shout out to that person for collecting every single Xbox 360. Let me see real quick. What is the number? How many Xbox 360 North American released games are there? Let's see. So let's see the number in the collection. Oh, Jesus. So instead of writing related, my phone changed related to retarded, and it said how many Xbox 360 North American retarded games are there, and it was like there are no retarded games there. That is absolutely fucking hilarious. Let's get the real answer here, shall we? There isn't a single exact number, but it's around 1,300 retail, with total releases, digital and retail reaching. So around 1,300 games are there, 1,300 plus. That's awesome. That's a great accomplishment. Good for them. That's cool. And it's really cool to make it so that his kid got him the final one. That's even better. That makes it full circle, makes it a family affair. So that's a ton of fun. But outside of that, I don't know if I got anything else for you guys. That was the last tab that I had open. Let me, it's been over 2 hours here. So let me see. If I have anything else left on the rundown, the Jets, I don't want to talk about the Jets. Maybe I'll talk about them Tuesday being fucking stupid, how much they've been terrible. And I've been having it on here to talk about my Brooklyn Nets who've been playing better than normal, but we'll maybe save that for another time. So yeah, I'm not going to talk about the Jets or the Nets. So this is going to be where we wrap it. Random fucking raccoon coming in saying, I've taken martial arts, and while I'm a little out of shape currently because I've been so busy with college recently and I've just been so tired coming home where I haven't consistently been working out. I get it. Listen, life happens fast. College can really make you busy. I went to school. I'll say this. As you get older, it doesn't get easier. So do your best to take advantage of being young now. Being in college, I know it could feel overwhelming with all the work and stuff like that and being exhausted. But even if you can get 30 minutes in, you don't got to go to the gym. Even if you could do a quick plyo for 30 minutes, go on a quick run, do something besides sitting down. And, as much as I enjoy that you come and watch me and that you found this channel, I appreciate that. But, instead of jumping on YouTube or TikTok or something, throw a YouTube video on in the background, throw your headphones in and go do a workout, go do a run, go do something like that. I'll say this, I'm 37 and I'm working to try and get back into it. I've been doing a lot of stretching because I can't just get into it anymore. Doing a lot of stretching. Doing a lot of core stuff. I'm doing stuff to strengthen my ankle because my left ankle's messed up. So I can't get much further until I rehab that ankle. I'm doing a lot of different balance things and stuff to get the muscles around with the ankle. But I want to get back into shape. But I'll tell you this, it's so much easier when you're in your early 20s, late teens, early 20s to get that shape back in. So you're at the beginning of it if you're in college. Find the time. Find 30 minutes. 30 minutes is where you need to be. Find 30 minutes and you'll be good. And again, a random fucking raccoon. I don't know if you're a male or female. I keep on assuming male. I don't know which one you are. So I'm not going to assume your gender, but no, seriously. I don't know what you are. You're a raccoon. But yeah, that's all I would say. Just try and find some time. When you're young, especially, you'll be able to get right back into it. You say you're a little out of shape, you will be just fine. If you start going and being consistent, you will get right back into it. You have plenty of time, and you youngins bounce back. Nate G saying Jets made history. We'll talk about that probably Tuesday. David will be around. We could talk about the Jets and their history making bullshit, and they secured the number 2 pick, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about who David and I would like to see, or what we'd like to see them do with that number 2 pick. And a random fucking raccoon saying I'm very flexible myself. I'm flexible too. I could touch the ground. I used to, but for this goddamn gut, I used to be able to get my palms on the ground. Now I can mostly get my hands on the ground, just from a straight, like, standing stretch and everything like that, but not as flexible as I used to be. Trying to get back there. That's the goal. Get back there, and get back into better shape, not just for myself, but for my family, for my kids. I want to be around longer. So that's the goal. So outside of that, I think we're out of here, y'all. I think that's gonna wrap up tonight. I appreciate Random Fucking Raccoon, Nate, obviously, you guys being here. Smoking Gent was over here for a bit. I appreciate you guys. Anybody else that watched, I appreciate everyone there. Make sure you click that like button, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'm gonna make it very clear. My goal is to try and get monetized. YouTube, try and get that monetized. Rumble, wherever, because I don't know if I want to make this a career. If I can, that'll be fucking sweet. But been grinding, been working hard. I'm gonna be doing much, much more in terms of coming on and streaming. As much as I can. If I can, I can. I'm not going to have a set schedule, and maybe that's going to screw me, but I'm going to be on and try and give, an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, talk about some topics, shoot the shit with whoever's with me. And I hope that it's entertaining enough for more people to want to subscribe. But that's the goal. That's one of the goals, to try and get this monetized and bring some income in. Doesn't have to be life changing, but to bring something. Been grinding for a long time podcasting. And I'm not trying to like bitch or gripe or anything like that, or because I've enjoyed every moment of it. I like it. I've enjoyed interviewing people. I've interviewed hundreds of people at this point, and I've said if this never makes any money, I've gained so much by just the people I've met, the people I've talked to, whether it's in the sports world, politics, nerdy. It's been a freaking blast, and I'm looking forward to interviewing more people, talking to more interesting people. But again, if this can make a little change in the pocket, I won't be mad. So that's one of the goals, to get some money in here. So I think that I appreciate everyone that comes in. And if you're just watching and I haven't convinced you yet, come back and continue to see if you like it. If you like what you see and what we bring, doesn't take nothing to click a like and a subscribe. And that's I appreciate that. So everyone, thanks again. Wherever you watch from, YouTube, X, Facebook, Kick, Rumble, go find us on the socials at the Alex Cuesta Show. Random Fucking Raccoon saying I'll be seeing you around, and saying I think you would be able to do it with enough time and a little grind. And the Random Fucking Raccoon saying, I mean, hell, I'd love to just make money off my artwork, but I still work a day job. Hey, keep grinding as well. You will make money off of it. If you like a piece, one thing I found that if you like something or you do something, you will find others that like it. I mean, I've gotten the fortunate thing of having Nate be around for a while now, and Nate's awesome. Rollin, Caveat Ties coming in. I've had people pop in and out. You're hanging out with us, Random Fucking Raccoon. That's awesome. If anyone listens to me, it's a privilege, and I truly, truly enjoy that. Random Fucking Raccoon saying, I take it you do work a day job as well. Whatever it may be, it just takes a little time. I've talked about it before. I'm a driving instructor. I teach people how to drive. And that also gives me a really cool insight into like young kids and things like that and what's going on. Because a lot of my students are 16, 17, 18. And it gives me an insight into that generation that I don't think many people have. So that's always fun. But yeah, so I'm getting out of here. Thanks everyone for watching. I appreciate everybody, especially those who are here all the time, always hanging out with us. I'll be back, like I said, probably not tomorrow because I'll be doing my track and field show more than likely. If not, I'll pop on here. If something happens and that doesn't go on, I'll pop on. But that means that another day will just get axed. But yeah, no, that's the only thing that I do is just one day to go do the track show. Yeah, a lot of young people in that line of work. But yeah, everyone, I'm out of here. I'll see you guys later, probably Tuesday, and maybe David will be with me. Everybody. Real quick, Random Fucking Raccoon asking, are they all as brain rotted as I think? No. I'll leave with that. And Raccoon, hold that thought. Ask me again on Tuesday. I will expand upon why I don't think they're as brain rotted. Okay. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. I'm out of here. So long, y'all.